Hello, beautiful teachers. Welcome back to another Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. This is a show on YouTube where we talk about all things music teaching and hang out with each other, and it's so much fun. This is our first show after the summer break, so I have a lot to catch you up on, and a lot of different pieces, bits and pieces, and we're also just talking generally about practice and how much practice we should be expecting from students and how much we're actually getting. Two different things, right? So, first of all, some bits of news because there's a lot going on. I'd love to catch up on the summer, so let me know what fun stuff you did over the summer, whether it was teaching or just something completely outside of teaching, whatever it was for you. As many of you know, if you joined me before the summer break, I went on an around the world tour. Not officially, but I did circumnavigate the world. So, yes. I had dinner with my family the other day, and my brother said, or my dad, I can't remember, around the world in much less than 80 days, if you get the reference. But, I didn't have to put any effort in because I was just on a plane, so it's not like, yeah. But I went to Bali first for a holiday, which was incredible. If you haven't been to Bali, oh my gosh. One of the most amazing places I've ever visited, and I've visited a lot of places. I can't say it was my favorite because I can't pick favorites for anything, but it was wonderful, and the people are the nicest people I've met. I was going to say outside of Ireland, they're even friendlier than Ireland. I'm going to be honest. They're even friendlier than Irish people, and that is saying something. So just a wonderful culture and amazing trip there. We did lots of traveling around and saw lots of things there, and then I went to Melbourne, which is incredible in a whole other sense. So it was winter there, but it was the same temperature as it was here in Ireland at the time. So I didn't really feel like it was winter for me. And I went to the Australasian Piano Pedagogy Conference there. I had a workshop series where I was doing one session every day at that conference. And I was also sharing a booth with the wonderful Tim Topham, who had invited me to share a bit of his space. So we were managing that together, and along with two incredible members of his team, and it was just so much fun. It was a lot. It was kind of like cozier is not the right word, but it was a smaller conference, obviously, than the US ones, as it would be because Australia has a smaller population. But yeah, it felt more relaxed, I guess. Maybe because there were only 4 streams instead of like the 8 or 10 you get at MTNA or NCKB, and yeah, also just the vibe felt more like relaxed in many ways. It was really fun. More about all of my summer adventures on the podcast if you want to really learn, really hear a summary of it. But after that, I went all the way to Cincinnati and had the Teacher Turbo booth there. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. I hope you loved it, Susan. I loved it. I had so much fun. And it went relatively smoothly for the first one of these that we were doing. And I just loved running it, and hopefully I'll be able to do another one at some point. I can't commit quite yet. That's probably going to be an announcement for early in 2025 as to whether we're doing one next summer or whether we're going to make it biannual. So just to be real with you, I haven't decided whether it's going to be every 2 years, as in like the off years of NCKP, since it's in July as well. That's why I'm relating it to NCKP, or whether it's going to be every year and you could maybe fit it and NCKP in. Who knows? Obviously for me, if I'm going to go to NCKP anyway in Chicago, I'm already flying over the Atlantic, but I know for some people, if you always go to that, you might not have the budget or time for both. So yeah, we're still weighing up that decision. You can give me your input if you want to. Yeah, but it was just incredible, and I'm not going to talk too much about it now because I could go on and on and on about how amazingly wonderful all the teachers there were and all the online attendees as well. It's just awesome. Now, some more recent news. So, first of all, about this show, if you haven't seen this already, I'm making a little change to our Vibrant Music Teacher chats. From now on, for this year at least, one chat per month, so this one that we're doing right now, the first one of the month, is going to be for everyone. It's public, just like it's always been, like it's on YouTube, you can search for it and find it. The rest of the live shows every month are going to be only for members. So if you're a member, you will get an email to let you know about the live show, and it'll feel pretty much the same because you'll just click on the link and you'll come here and it'll feel the same. It's still on YouTube, it's just not free for everyone. So this is just a way for me to hang out specifically with the members and have some cozier chats with them alongside doing other YouTube stuff that we're doing. Just a little bit of a reworking we're doing. So hopefully all you members can join me again next week. Speaking of which though, if you're not a member and you can't be a member right now, there is a sort of consolation to this, which is next week is going to be the start of the lead up to our Vibrant Music Teaching's birthday. We're turning 7. She's turning 7. She's all grown up. I don't know if you're all grown up at 7, but it feels like a momentous year to me. So, so I always do, or almost always do, a week of celebration leading up to that. I couldn't do the week in the same way last year because I was going to Canada, but we're back to usual. So it's 7 days of live events. The first day is going to be at this usual show time and it's going to be for members only, but the other days will be open to everyone. So each of those days, except Sunday, which is a little bit different, and I'll keep that secret for now, each of those days I'm going to be coming on live, talking about a fun topic with a fun background. Our theme is the 7 natural wonders of the world, so we're flying to different locations in the world with a green screen each day, and we are going to talk about a fun topic, hang out with each other. As always, I'm happy to answer any random questions that come up, and we'll also be doing a prize drawing. So you may have, if you're super eagle-eyed, you may see in our blurry background here, there's some gifts already. I've been getting those ready because I'm busy this weekend. I've got a very busy weekend heading to a friend's wedding. So my gifts are already up, ready to go for next week. And each day we'll open one of those until the last day. The first day only, we're giving away the gift to someone who has submitted a podcast question. So if you haven't done that before, you go to vibrantmusicteaching.com/question and you can submit a question there. You can write it, you can record audio, or you can record video, whatever you find easiest to do, and send it through to us. If you record video, we will just use the audio from it. I'm not going to put your video anywhere. But yeah, so if you submit a question, you'll be in with a chance of winning the first gift, and we'll open it and unwrap it on next Thursday in a week. And then each day after that, I will open a gift for a random member of the audience. So, sorry, that always makes me think of an Irish talk show where there was always one for everybody in the audience. I'm sure there's an equivalent in other countries as well, but there would be something under their chair. And we have one for everyone in the audience. I don't quite have one for everyone in the audience. I have one for one person in the audience each day. So I will pick at random from the chat, so you have to actually be live when I call it out. So if you don't respond, yeah, I'm here, then I'll give it to someone else. So that person has to be live. That's not for the first day, it's for every other day. Hope that's not too confusing. I have a really epic announcement for the last day. Don't want to give too much away, but that's huge. So on the actual birthday, I have a huge announcement for you, and there's no chance of you guessing it. It's totally coming out of left field. Is that the phrase? I'm not very good with words. Anyway, so that's our birthday celebration that starts next week, and the first day is for members only, as it is a members only Vibrant Music Teacher chat, and then the rest of the month, those Thursday chats will be for only members, except the first of each month. The first one of each month will be for everyone. Hope that's clear enough. Now, I'm nearly there with my news. 3 more quick bits. Number 1, we have a new Peace Pointers course out now. which is about Masterwork Classics 3. So if you use that, or if you just tend to use a lot of standard classical rep at the like early intermediate level, a lot of those pieces are in Masterwork Classics 3. So it's a great source for pieces that are generally in the public domain, so you could get them elsewhere too. But that's a great collection. And in Piece Pointers courses, I talk you through each piece and give you teaching tips about it and things to watch out for and how I might suggest a student practice it. We have another new course that was released just before that one, and that is Zero to Studio. So Zero to Studio is a course based on my book, which you can't see because the presents are in the way. But anyway, it is a red book, and it's called Zero to Studio, and it is for brand new teachers. Okay? So it is not for you if you've been teaching for ages. It's about setting up a studio and putting all the basics in place. I just didn't think that existed. I had never found a book that really fulfilled that criteria of being like not a textbook, but a book that covers the basics of the business side and the marketing and the teaching stuff for setting up a studio. So I hope that if you know a new teacher, like if a teenager or college student that you teach is thinking about starting teaching, maybe pass on the recommendation for the book, and hopefully they will enjoy it. And if you do want to take the course, that's inside the membership, so you can do that if you're a member of Vibrant Music Teaching. Final piece of news is the biggest one. So I mentioned that I'm not 100% yet about the Teacher Turbo Boost next summer, but can anyone guess what's coming next? What am I about to announce? Anyone know? Anyone? No dust. Sorry, that's another reference you won't get. Can anyone guess what it is? Some of you may have heard me talk about this in the abstract, and some of you may not. Okay, I don't think anyone's going to guess it. Maybe they'll guess it before, with the lag. Let's see. This is my other announcement. What is this? Okay, this is the Keys and Trees retreat. It is official. Gary's had no idea, but I feel like I should know. I did mention this in a couple of places, but not a huge amount, and I hadn't announced that it was definite. It is now definite. I am going to do a small in-person retreat here in the country with all that green. And yes, it really does look like that. That's not a stock image, that's a photo I took. Okay? That's just like a random Sunday walk for me. There's a lot of green here, and you can come see it. So this is an in-person retreat. You can look at all the details on this page, but it's going to be next June. It's the last weekend in June, and there's quite a lot of details already up there, but not all. So you can take a browse through that page, absolutely, and see what you think. It's still a ways away, but I do have the early bird tickets up now. I'm not able to tell you the location yet or details like that, but you can therefore get it at an even better price. So if you want to visit Ireland next June, this is your shot. It would mean that you get a business expensible trip to Ireland, and you could tag on some fun Irish visits. The website is keysandtrees.com. So the idea is it's all about a relaxed retreat in the beautiful Irish countryside. We'll be staying at a house together. The retreat includes 3 nights with 2 days of like working and learning together, but 3 nights so that we can settle in the first evening, and it just gives us a bit more breathing room around the event. And most meals are included. There's one dinner that we'll have out, but everything else is included, and it will be at the house. And yeah, you can check out all the details if you're interested. I know this is not for everyone. I know not everyone can make this trip, but I've had enough people asking me about this over the years, and then more more insistently asking me about it this summer after I did the Teacher Turbo Boost. Like, when are we doing a version of this in Ireland? And I've always really, or at least for the last few years, foreseen that if we did something in Ireland, it would be on this smaller scale and staying together, because it just makes a lot more sense logistically if you're traveling this far, that you can actually do a retreat together, stay together, and experience everything together. So it's going to be a lot more, not that the Turbo Boost wasn't relaxed, but I feel like this is a more relaxing getaway from life and really diving deep into some things, a lot more actual doing, as in like working together, co-working side by side, as well as trying things out together, playing together. We'll have our 2 digital pianos down there. And yeah, all the details are on the page, so I don't want to go too much into it. I can answer any questions people have about it. I'm happy to do that, but I don't want to go on and on because it's literally only a few spots that we're going to have available. Because as I say, we're staying in a beautiful big house together in the Irish countryside. And I'm sure you'll have questions if you're considering it, so you can just let me know when you do. Yeah, there's an early bird rate now. I can't guarantee when spots are going to run out or anything like that. We've never done this before, and there's not very many spots at all. So if you are considering it, like, ask your questions soon so that you can really think it through. Okay, so today's topic is about practice. Why are we talking about practice? Because we have our practice survey out right now. So it is at vibrantmusicteaching.com/practice. And it is really important to me that you do it, but also that you pass it on to parents and students from your studio. So I say parents or students because the students are their parents, but for a lot of students, their parents would make more sense. This survey is not just for us collecting data for ourselves. That's not what it's about. We're collecting data so that we can put together a beautiful report. Many of you will have seen our industry report. If you've seen that, give me a yeah in the comments, because we put a lot of effort into those to make, beautiful graphs and make all the data talk and sing to us and give us information as teachers. And we want to do the same thing for practice, but we need responses. We need parents to tell us, what's stopping them from helping their kiddo practice, how much practice is really happening, and other details like that. Now, when I say survey, I think a lot of people's mind jumps to what my mind jumps to, which is those hideously long surveys that you used to do at the door or over the phone. I'm sure people still try and do them. I actually did that job for one day. Anyone else do that job? I went door to door, knocking on doors and trying to convince people to answer a survey about, it's like, kids' yogurts. I got one person to answer it, and when she actually said yes and started answering it, I immediately hated the process so much and had to put on a very brave, hopefully friendly face, because it just wouldn't stop. Like, it was the first time I'd talked through the survey, and like the questions were just endless, and a lot of them were the same question but just reworded, and it was excruciating. Anyway, I hated that job. I did it for a day, and then I was like, no, not for me. Thanks very much, but no thanks. So this is not that. This is under 3 minutes. It's literally a few questions and it's done. Yeah, right, it kind of was my worst nightmare. I don't know why I tried it. I was just taking anything. It was, when I didn't have much experience as like a teenager, and I was just taking whatever was given to me. But yeah, it was not fun. So yeah, this is 3 minutes. It's not like that. And we're trying to answer questions about practice. So I would appreciate you passing it on. Again, it's vibrantmusicteaching.com/practice. Someone can type that into the chat for me. And hopefully you can pass it on to more people. We have a blog post coming out soon that will also have like a template email. So if you're like procrastinating on it because you don't know how to write the email or the social post or whatever, for parents. I have some templates coming out. I think it's next Monday. In the meantime, though, I think we should ponder this question together, the questions from the survey or the topics from the survey, and think about what's actually real. So I'd love to hear from you. How much do you think your students practice? And do you know, or are you guessing? Most of us are guessing. Even if you use a practice app or something like Vivid Practice, you're still kind of guessing some parts of it because they might not use the app every time, etc. But you have a better idea. But a lot of us are just totally guessing and going by feel. Yes, exactly. It's in the data. I mean, I have the screenshot from the survey. It says 3 minutes is the maximum it takes, and it really does. So yeah, let me know how much you think your students practice on average. I know we're summarizing a whole studio of students, and some of them practice a lot. I always ask this question when I've done this on the industry report and in this survey. I ask it per week because I very clearly emphasize that it's for the whole week because I don't want people to answer the wrong way. But I think that's more revealing and then we ask about how many days. Because if you ask how much per day, yeah, it just doesn't really get the whole picture. So I think of it as a total in the week. Roughly how long are students practicing? What would you say it is in your studio? Most students practicing 1 hour a week in total? That would be like 4 days for 15 minutes. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I don't think a lot of them are even doing that. 2 to 3 days per week seems most common among my kids, yeah. But how many minutes do they do each of those times? So if it's 3 days and it's 20 minutes each time, that's an hour. How much in a whole week? I don't know what it is in my studio for real, for sure. Very few teachers would be able to say that unless you have a very strict like parent logging situation or you make them use an app every time. But obviously there's a huge range there. And some students are very steady with doing, I'd say 4 to 5 days a week and generally doing like 15-20 minutes. And I consider that pretty good going, to be honest. And then some students aren't practicing at all. And then there's people in between. And then there's people who practice loads. And those are kind of the outliers. But if we think about like the standard advice, or what I think of as the standard advice, which is 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day. I'm sure many of us have heard that or even said it. That's 2.5 hours in a week. And when as I'm looking at the data coming in for this survey before we fully put it together and published it, and when we've done the industry reports before, very few people answer anything close to that high. But are we then acting or preparing our lessons as if we still expect that amount of practice, even though we know it's not real? Is that what we're doing? Because I think in some cases it is. And who is that serving? What does that achieve? I checked with all my students yesterday and all but one had practiced 1 day. Yeah. 1 day in the past week, yeah. 30 to 60 minutes per week, which I feel like is much lower than I'd like it. Yeah, I mean, let's be real though. Right? What are we really getting? Quite a few that were minimal. That means almost zero, I'm guessing. But consistent was 15 minutes or so about 4 to 5 days a week, right? Some non-practicers. And I have a couple of fab students that are real workhorse students. Yeah, but they're the outliers, right? And this is the issue that I have with some piano teacher discussion that happens at conferences, at trainings, online, in various platforms. I'm not going to name any names because it's not really about that. But sometimes there's this issue that arises where teachers, let's say we're talking about a demonstration lesson. Teachers want to showcase their best student because they think they're fabulous. And so they show off a student or they showcase examples, whether it's like videos of that student or it's just more vague in how they're structuring things. But a lot of their training is based off this outlier student who practices a ton. And it leads to frustration when we aren't looking reality in the face. Yes. But it leads to, like, worse than that for me is it leads to teachers who aren't as engaged maybe online as some of you or who are here, having this perception, like they see just these few glimpses and they feel like they're totally failing, and or that their students are useless or something because they have mostly students who barely practice. That's the world. Most of the world has students who barely practice. It's just that teachers, even the best teachers, have students who don't practice or don't practice much or as much as they would like, unless they have a policy of actually firing them if they don't practice. And that's a whole other discussion. But most of us have some students at least who don't practice. Yeah, I mean, many of you will know that's my approach as well. Like, let's just look the horse in the teeth and say, you're not practicing. You're not going to practice. Let's work with that rather than saying, no, you really should practice. No, you really should practice. And then acting as if they have practiced when we prepare lessons and they never have. Yes, it can be so skewed what we're looking at online versus what's happening in reality. So that's a big reason for this survey. So do any of you feel on some level, or do you ever get the feeling, oh, loads of other teachers have students who practice more? Do you ever get that feeling? Like you're at a competition or festival and you see certain students or whatever the case may be. Do you get that feeling? Like, oh, what's wrong with me and my students? Why am I not getting it? Now, the next thing to think about is, did you practice as a student more than your students do now? Or was it the same? Do we think there's a correlation there? That's one of the things I'm unpacking on this survey is teachers' perspectives on practice growing up, like what kind of a practicer they were, whether they enjoyed practice, and whether their students are similar or different to them. I think sometimes the teachers who did practice a lot get more frustrated by the lack of practice or are more baffled by it and don't know how to deal with it. Whereas the teachers who very much were up and down with practice themselves kind of get where the student is coming from a little bit more. So, did you practice more than your students do? Did you practice more than any of your students ever do? Probably not, right? I know I certainly didn't. I have some students, or I've had some students who, I mean, at their age, I was barely practicing at all. And they're like voracious practicers. But those are the exceptions. Carrie said, yes, if I'm not careful, I feel like I'm subpar as a teacher because I can't motivate them to practice. When in reality, that motivation or lack of comes from many factors. Yes, it's always many factors. We're one factor. I'm not taking us out of the blame equation at all. Sometimes it is our fault, right? But it's not always our fault, and it's never all our fault. It's hard to say. James, I have 1 or 2 students that practice every day. Most other students practice before our lesson for a half hour or so, and maybe 1 or 2 other times that week. Yes, I've been wondering about it too. That's the reason for the survey and the report. I always try, one of the things I try to get across to students many times is, it would be better if you practiced only on the day of your lesson, after it, than just before your lesson. Like, we get it backwards so often because the forgetting curve, right? You're forgetting more and more and more throughout the week, and then you try to practice when you remember the least. And it's just frustrating and annoying and gets you nowhere, and then you come to your lesson and then we start the process over again. My parents had us practice a ton, at least 1 hour, usually 90 minutes a day. And there was a period where we had to practice 150 minutes a day. Was that split up into several sessions? How did you feel about practice, and how do you feel about it now, Sarah? I'd be really interested to know. My mum was very laissez-faire with practice. I was the youngest of 5, and it was just... Yeah, I mean, she probably sometimes told me to practice. I don't remember, but it was mostly up to me. Yeah. I wasn't even a great sight reader. I was a great theory rememberer. So they were always convinced that I had more ability because I had a lot of knowledge. That was my biggest crime. I just fooled them into thinking, oh, she's so smart, she remembers everything. But if I wasn't playing enough, where was that going to get me? Not that I think I was so smart, just like I have a knack for remembering words sometimes and stuff like that. That's all I mean. Tons more than your students, and I'm realizing I can't expect my students to be anything like I was, or families to be like mine was. Yeah, I mean, largely the families that I teach are nothing like mine, because most families don't go to the concert hall to attend classical music concerts. So it's just, those are the odds. Most families are not going to be like mine. Practice was a form of life. Yeah, I think teachers who grew up with musicians as parents have another perspective on this. Yes, I did adore music and was homeschooled, so had more time, more flexibility there. But I wasn't an efficient daily practicer, more of a wild blitz type practicer. I think I was for many years as well. I finally found my stride when I did my ARCT. Oh, I so relate to feeling insecure when I see examples of other people's best students. Yes. But like, it goes back to, I love the culture we live in now, and the fact that in general teaching is a lot more open, and we know what other people are doing a lot more because we see it on Instagram and here on YouTube and all sorts of other places. We get insights into other people's studios, and I love that. But it does come with the inherent dangers that all of the internet does, that like on Instagram we see people on their best day in general, and we see teachers' best students on their best days, and then we go, why isn't it working like that for me? That's why I don't love lesson clips that are like pre-rehearsed. I want real teaching videos. Like when I've put out teaching videos of my teaching, they're just excerpts from my actual lessons. Stuff goes wrong sometimes. I'm not going to put out anything where a student might feel a certain way about how they did. But if something goes wrong in terms of my teaching, that's kind of what I want to put out, because I want it to be an actual real lesson where they don't immediately know what I mean or give the response I expected them to give. 90 minutes in the morning and another 60 minutes in the afternoon. Yeah, that's really tough, Sarah. I mean, I'm sure you got excellent skills from it, but that is really tough. You're reminding me, which is only slightly related, because I don't want to say anything about these students' parents because I don't know them, but something a student of mine said to me the other day. So it's our first lesson back from summer, and this student attended, she's a teenager, and she attended this sort of piano camp, like a summer camp thing that was held in one of the conservatoires. And she said to me, we were talking about like what was her experience like, because I had last seen her when she'd only attended a day of it, and then she was attending the rest of it. And she said the other students, a lot of them were better than her, more like she said specifically technically maybe they were better than her, but she felt like none of them enjoyed music the way she did. What a thing to hear as a teacher, right? But so these were all not my students. I have no connection to them. I don't know who they were, or who their teachers were, or who their parents were. But she kind of implied that they seemed like they had very strict practice regimes, and she doesn't. She practices, but up and down, normal kid stuff, and she's a pretty good student, but she's not expected to practice hours a day. But her point was, I mean, she said, I don't think they're going to keep playing after they get to grade 8, like the last exam. And I've seen so many adults come to me saying that same thing. This is a bit of a tangent, but I met with a new parent recently who said she had all the way up to grade 8. Again, that's the last exam here. And after her grade 8, she never touched a piano again, and she never will. She's like traumatized by her experience with lessons. She feels like she can't play anything. She's physically incapable of playing. I mean, I'm not saying or accusing you of having that experience or anything, Sarah. Just, it kind of opens up this, what are we doing this for? And sometimes pushing for more practice is going to help us achieve that, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes we just need to face reality. Yeah, I've had students who would practice 6 hours a day if they had the time. Yeah. And I've never pushed them to do that. I've had students who have to be held back by their parents from practicing. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Okay, look, if we want to find out the real answers to this, I need you to do the survey. As I said, it's under 3 minutes, and I really need more parent and student responses. So if you can share it with any music parents you know. If you're not comfortable sharing it in your own studio, I mean, I'll be sharing it in my own studio. But if you're not comfortable doing that, maybe you know other music parents that you could share it with. Or maybe you are a music parent and you could fill it out under that title as opposed to as a teacher perspective. So you get asked different questions based on whether you select that you're a parent or a student or a teacher. So again, vibrantmusicteaching.com/practice. I would super appreciate it. As a reminder, next week is at the same time as this, we'll have a members only live. So if you're a member of Vibrant Music Teaching, you will get an email with a link, just as you did today, and you can join me. And I will be giving away a gift. We'll open up the gift for fun on the live, and that gift will be going to one person selected at random from those who have submitted a question to be on the podcast. So if you want to be in the running for that, it's at vibrantmusicteaching.com/question. Imagine that. vibrantmusicteaching.com/question. All the other birthday celebrations, I will be giving away a gift to someone who is live on the chat. So watch out for the links to attend different ones of those. Hey ho. So watch out for the links if you want to attend those. They'll be on the social media, of course, and in your email if you're subscribed to get our emails. So please do join me for some of those. The times are varied to try and help you in different time zones to join. So hopefully one of them will suit you, or maybe all of them will. Maybe if you're somewhere near Ireland, it might. So I hope you'll be able to join me for at least some of the birthday celebrations. We'll be opening some of those gifts that you see behind me right there and doing some other fun stuff. And on the last day, the birthday, which is Wednesday week, like 13 days from now, I will be announcing something pretty mega. So you're going to want to be there for that if you can. So I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.